So Tamara, it looks like we've got the bulk of the people that are going to be in for now, so
Yes.
we're going to get started. So good morning, everybody, and we're excited to have you with us. We've got a great town hall set up for you today, and it's always good to have the interaction between the market centers as well, all the way across the board. So just a lot of great things to share with you, a lot of great results. I'm hoping everybody's starting off with a great 2021, and just looking at all the positive we have going on in our world, and some great things, and not to mention a great company and a great group of people to be in business with. So good morning and welcome. So we're going to go ahead and go. Tam, if you could take us over to our first slide here. This is exciting, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen this on social media, and if not, take a look now, because look at our 2020 results among our market centers over here. We had closed volume of 1.7 billion, which is the highest closed volume we've ever had in the history of the companies together. All these are records, by the way. Our closed units were 5,963, so just right under 6,000 closings. Now, let me add something to that 6,000 closings. With minimal, no litigation, no lawsuits, touch wood, and no minimal even issues that we've had to deal with. And that's thanks to our wonderful transaction protection department, and even more wonderful agents who work with us through that process to keep you safe, keep your clients safe, and give you the best protection as well. So to close almost 6,000 properties, and then when you add another 300 or 400 that we did over in Cocoa Beach with our Cocoa Beach partners on here, now that's getting up to 6,500. That's some great results based on very, very minimal legal issues that have taken place. So congratulations for that. Listings taken, almost 3,000. And again, when you add the Cocoa Beach mix into here, that's well over 3,000. So again, with the pandemic and with some of the challenges we've had, to do that kind of business, and again, that's a record for our market centers together. That's the most we've ever done in 1 year. So that's wonderful. And then my favorite box is the bottom left corner box, which is profit share. We shared back with our agent partners 783,936, so just under $784,000. And again, if you add the Cocoa mixing in there, we're over 800,000. So wouldn't you love a piece of that? And a lot of you are getting that, which is awesome. And how you can be a part of that is when you bring someone into the Keller Williams world through a connection. It's not recruiting them, but a connection. It could be in one of our market centers, or it could be any market center in the entire United States or Canada. And through growth share in the entire world, you're a part of that. We've got a lot of agents that have really added to their profit share mix. And we're going to do some stuff with profit share training and building profit share downlines in the market centers this year, quite a bit of it, because it's a huge opportunity on your opportunity map as far as you gaining a passive income into your world there. So anyway, this graphic is available for you to use on listing appointments, on buyer consultations, on your social media. Tamara, what's the best place for them to grab this if they don't have it already?
All of the agent services and front desks have access to them, so they can share them with you easily. It's been posted on Facebook as well, but they can quickly email it to you if you wanted it in a different format.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So I would use this, throw it in your presentations. It's talk about results, right? Talk about results. And congratulations to all of you, because that's you all making that happen. And we're blessed to be in business with you. So we're excited about that. So moving right along, we're going to move into our area of, I believe it's technology. And Andrew Hicks is our technology coordinator for all of our market centers. And he's got a couple little tidbits he's going to give you to just keep you up to date. So Andrew, I'll turn it over to you.
Hey everybody, thanks for coming today. We've got a couple of updates here. The biggest update though is going to be our Twilio update. So I know all of you use, or at least a lot of you use Smart Plans to automatically connect with people throughout your database, and also for all of your new leads that come in. So we now have the ability to have any phone call that comes to your Twilio number be directed directly to your phone. Now, if you look here, you can see how the pricing breakdown works. So once you set up the call forwarding, which I can post the article from answers.kw.com, super easy. You just pretty much put in the number that you want to forward it to. You can see that the call forwarding, the setup is a one-time fee of 6 credits. You may remember that you can purchase up to 300 credits for about $3 a month. Every minute on those calls is 3 credits. So you would want to make those brief to maximize the amount of time that you get on there. Maybe have them call your actual number from there. But whenever somebody calls that number whenever somebody calls your Twilio number, you will get a call on your phone. There will be a short pre-recorded message saying that it's a Twilio phone call from your Twilio call forwarding, and you can talk to your clients directly from there. So it's a huge update. I know a lot of people have been asking for it. Also, if you have not heard yet, your smart plan emails can be a little bit more in depth now. We can use HTML, and we can actually use uh, our email template designer to create those smart plans and use those merge fields. That way we can add in their first and last name and phone number and all that. You can check out the Ubaldini Group YouTube channel for instructions on how to do that. Quick, easy process. You just create the email and designs first. Then from there, you can choose it in your smart plans. So those are the main updates. We are working a lot on stability in the coming months. So you'll see a lot more of your tools have a lot more uptime. The updates that we typically do on Tuesdays will not have much of an impact anymore. So it'll be a lot smoother that way. But the main takeaways for today is the Twilio call forwarding, which is something a lot of people have been asking for a long time.
So Andrew, if they've got questions about how to use that or how to implement that, you have your Genius Bar time that they can get with you, or they could set up a private time. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So every Wednesday and Friday, I have my Genius Bar at noon. Feel free to come in there and ask any questions. Feel free to also email me. And the easiest way to find answers for this specific topic, the Twilio setup, if you go to answers.kw.com and just search for call forwarding, it'll bring you directly with pictures and a video on how to create that. I'll also be posting a video on YouTube later on today on setting that up. But really, any command related questions, feel free to find me in your market centers. I'm in the Tampa Marketplace on Wednesday, the Clearwater Marketplace on Tuesday, and the Bel Air Marketplace on Fridays. So feel free to jump in anytime during those days, or hit the Genius Bar noon on Wednesday and Friday, or check out the Ubaldini training for all the training classes we offer as well.
And I want to make sure that you all understand the value of the Smart Plan program within Command, right? Because that's something you could it's something you could set it and forget it. You could set up the plans. You can get, your whole database. There's going to be aspects of your database that you're going to use in this system, whether it's people you've sold to, Mets, not Mets, geographic farms. I mean, there's just a lot to that. So please make sure you're attending as much training as you can on that and use that to your full advantage, because it could be, oh my goodness, there's so many of us that have been selling for 10, 20, 30 years that if we had a tool like this would be incredibly beneficial to us.
Yeah, and one more quick thing, I do see a couple of questions in the chat. So credits, they do roll over. So if you don't use all 300 credits that first month, they roll over to the next one. Also, you can choose your own Twilio phone number, so you can make it a local number now. Feel free to reach out to me or jump into the Genius Bar and we can go over that as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it so much.
Yep.
So moving forward, we have such a treat for you today, and I think you're going to really, really enjoy this. Katrina Maywell is an agent in our Northwest Tampa Market Center, the Keller Williams Tampa Properties office, and a wonderful agent she is. And she's, first of all, let me tell you about her business. Her business over the last year has gone up 30 to 40%. She went from 14.1 million to over 19 million in the last year. So she's been essentially almost a $20 million producer in our marketplace, number one. Number two, her book that she's just released and written, Selling Through Relationships, is listed on the Inman 7 must-read real estate sales books for 2020. Katrina, that is amazing. Because as we know, Inman is an international real estate platform as far as what they recommend agents read and whatnot. So how exciting. So we are going to learn from you today. And so we're so excited to do that. I actually asked Hudson Warren. Hudson's our team leader. He's actually Katrina's team leader in the Northwest Tampa Market Center, who's going to actually do an interview and a Q&A with her regarding the book. But I think you're going to really, really enjoy this. So Hudson, Katrina, I'm going to take it over to you. And Katrina, thanks so much for spending the time with us today.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for sharing. I appreciate that. You put it in perspective for me when you remind me what Inman is.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. So Tamara, if you could our world here. Yay,
There we go.
Okay. And Hudson, I'm going to turn it over to you and Katrina.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for letting me do this. And yeah, I had the pleasure of reading Katrina's book, and it really is great. It was a fun read, and I really enjoyed it. And I get all sorts of sales books thrown my way. There was a different approach for sure. So I'm excited to chat. So Katrina, the first thing I want to ask you is just honestly, look, it was the year of the pandemic. It was, you had massive growth within your business. So what made you decide to also write a book?
Well, I had made the decision to write the book in like October of the prior year. So this would have been October of 2019. So there was no pandemic yet at that time. So basically that was, I just said, you know what, my business is so different. I came over to KW a little over 4 years ago. And so, I would go to things like Bold and they would say, get on the phones, call FSBOs, call for sale by owners. And for me, I always had just a big disconnect with that because I've never done that. And I've been in the space for almost 30 years. So it's, I had quite a few people asking me, saying you really should write a book. And I thought, well, I don't even know what I would write a book about. And they're like, you're shortchanging your own experiences, just write about what you know. And so literally the book started before I even got the title. I was probably through chapter 5, maybe, or further before I even came together with a title.
I love it. I love it. So how long did it actually take you to write the book? Like from start to the publisher is off and printing?
It was over a year. It was over a year. So that's an important highlight to make, right? You don't just write a book in a month. Maybe some people do, but probably not with my production or someone that has another job of any sort. So yeah, it took over a year, and it's been an interesting journey. I guess technically I can't say I'm not an author because I am now. But before that, I was not an author. I was a real estate agent. So it was a whole new world for me. It was like doing something you'd never done. So I had a lot of really great people that helped me, just with everything from editing to the cover design to all the pieces that went into it.
I love it. I love it. So, and so did it come to you easily, or how hard was it to do the process? We know it was lengthy, but was it difficult or just natural flow?
It was very hard in the beginning, right? Because like a lot of other mega agents, I'm all over the place. I'm a D, I'm fast paced, sometimes you will talk, or I'll talk to people and they'll say, what the heck, that was so fast. So unless you're a D, it's hard to keep up with somebody like that. So the great part, my copy editor that helped me with the book, she kind of slowed me down and really just kind of helped me organize all my thoughts in a way that actually made sense. So that when you read it, it's not just a whole bunch of junk on a paper in a book, right? It's
Correct.
literally something that, my goal in the beginning of the book, even before I had the title, was always to ultimately be a business book, but also share my experiences through real estate and help people in sales in a way other than cold calling. And so that's kind of like, the title kind of mirrors my personality, right? It's pretty sassy. I think anybody that knows me would say that. Howard's like smiling as I say that, but I am. That's who I am. And so that's why, the subtitle's pretty bold, but that's me. That's who I am.
Well, so, and that was going to be my next question. So the title of the book, guys, if you didn't catch it, is Selling Through Relationships: Why Cold Calling Sucks and Relationships Win. So it's super passive, right? So isn't cold calling selling though?
That's a great question. And so I talk about this in the book in the very beginning. And I talk about how the difference is, if you're in a career of sales, there's nothing wrong with cold calling. You can start your sales career there. It's a great place to start. If you don't already have a sphere and a business built, it's a fantastic place to start. The point of the book is you don't always want to stay there, right? So yeah. 30 years into my career, if I was still cold calling and door knocking, people might be saying, where's all of her past business, repeat clients and that sort of stuff. So 92% of our business is referred or repeat clients. So we have a very, very big business that's referred or past clients. And so a lot of people, because I do the radio show, they think, oh, the bulk of your business must come from radio. But the truth is it doesn't. It's a very small percentage.
Cool. And so, when I first got the book, the first thing that caught me and it kind of made me chuckle is that your table of contents, like your chapter titles are like the first dates, making the commitment, breakups, rebounds, prenups. I'm like, wait, what? So like, is it a book on relationships or is it a book on sales?
So I have to give my my content editor that worked with me on the book a lot of credit for this. And so how I came up with the title as I was talking to her, because we just masterminded and collaborated and ran ideas off of each other. And the cool part about it, and the things that were so different between her and I, is I've been married for 23 years, and I dated my husband for 5 years before I got married. And so, for more than half of my life, I've been with my husband. And her, on the other hand, like, could not pick Mr. Right. Like, I can't even tell you how many different dates or like people that she talked to during just the course of the year that we worked together that were different, right? She just couldn't quite nail it. And so I talked to her, and I said, it's this, what I'm talking about, even in this book, it's a lot like relationships and marriage or anything, because that's what it is. Like, it's all relatable, from how you go on a date and meet your spouse and what that relationship's like, all the way through the end of beyond. And it's not any different really in business, but I think somehow people see them as different when really they're not.
Well, so how is building a business like dating then?
Well, dive into the chapters. I mean, it's, when you look at that, it talks about, what's the first chapter? I can grab a book here.
That is so funny that you don't know. It's the attraction phase.
So the attraction phase. So when you relate that to relationships compared to, business, it is the attraction phase. This is prospecting and marketing. How are you attracting your customers to you? What makes them want to call you? What makes them want to call you back? Right? What makes them want to actually work with you? It's not any different than dating, right? If you're single and you're in a bar, or you're at church, or I think now people meet online, right? You guys can laugh at me because none of that existed when I met my husband and got married. But I think people meet on whatever those sites are now, but it's real. And I talk about this in the book too, but it's the attraction phase, and is the picture online the same as the person that you meet? Sure, we want to look great in there, but if they can't tell who you are because you're like 100 pounds lighter with a different shade of hair, then it's a little bit like false advertising to your customers, right? So they're very similar when you think about it like that.
No, I totally get it. So is this book geared towards just real estate agents or sales in general?
So because I wrote the book from my perspective and what I do, I started in the mortgage side of the business when I was 18 years old. I did that for 17 years. I did both real estate and mortgages for 4 years simultaneously. And then frankly, after the housing collapse of '08, when my mortgage license expired, I just had no intent of renewing it, and I did not. And so I only sold real estate after that point, and that's been almost 17 years now. So all in all, I've got about 30 years worth of experience in the industry. So when you go back to your question, Hudson, I lost my train of thought.
No. So it's just, is the book just for real estate agents or
so that's what I
salespeople
was
in
gonna say.
general?
So my perspective is the real estate and mortgage business, because that's all I've ever done. So of course I share a lot of my stories and that sort of stuff throughout the book, which is highly relatable to real estate people. But I will tell you, I didn't want the book only to be for real estate people. So I was very excited that Inman picked it up, right? Being that they are the real estate news leader, but that was not the intent when I wrote the book. Even though there's a lot of that in there, it was my first book, right? So I got to give myself some grace. But I do believe that there's a lot of stuff in there, generally, even for regular business owners. I met with a past client of mine that I've had for over 20 years, and he's a high guy in Philips, right? That manufactures a lot of different things. And I literally gave him 4 books to take to other management that he's going to have his sales team read. Same thing for, other people that sell, like there's a guy that sells a lot of credit cards, another guy for Cisco. And so these sales guys are taking my book and bringing it back to their team saying, you should read this. It's a little bit more, it's sales, but it tells you how to do sales differently.
Well, and I will agree, because I did read it. Yeah, a lot of the stories are real estate, and yet at the same time, I feel like this would apply to anybody who's in a sales field, period. Like 99% of what's in there. So I think that's great. What made you actually choose to get into real estate?
I love that you asked me that, because real estate, I don't think I picked real estate. I think it picked me. Okay. So I started doing real estate when I was mortgages when I was 18 years old by default. I just I wanted to be a flight attendant. So my degree is in travel and tourism, and I've never worked one day in that field in my whole life. So I graduated high school when I was 17. I got this fast track degree that's an associate's in 8 months for tourism, travel and tourism. I got a job offer with Continental Airlines back then, making $5.62 an hour, and I had to agree to relocate anywhere in the world. And I said, I don't think this is for me. I'm going to go back to this mortgage company where they already gave me a job offer before I left. And so I wasn't even 18 when I started out in that business. And I cold called from the Hill Donnelly. That's how I started. Literally cold called to see if people wanted to refinance. And I would set appointments for loan officers. And so I was young. It was just a job for me. I didn't really know even what I was doing. I didn't know what a mortgage was. I was 18, you know? So that's the interesting thing. It's interesting how it progresses. So the how I got into it was, you know, being on the mortgage side of the business, I already knew the contracts inside and out. I had job offers to be an underwriter. I knew how stuff worked, right? So I understood the dynamics. And so literally this was a little bit before like Zillow and Realtor.com and all that stuff. So I had found my home on my own, didn't realize the value of a buyer's agent because no one had ever shown me what that value would be, right? I knew that I didn't have to pay for them, but I didn't see the value in it. And quite frankly, one of the agents that I was working with, I had worked with her on the mortgage side. And to be honest with you, that experience was so bad working with her. I thought, well, gosh, if this is my experience and I'm like, you know, somebody from the inside, how are you treating our mutual clients, our mutual customers that we have? And so it was a big disconnect for me. And so I said, I'm just going to represent myself. And a lot of the agents that I had that I worked with had retired, moved out of the way or out of the area. They weren't here anymore. And so really a lot of the good agents at that time, I didn't have great relationships with because I felt like all the good ones had left. And so I had this natural book of business, and I decided to get in the real estate field based on my own experience. So when I bought my home 17 years ago, I had technically a different buyer's agent on there. But I will tell you, I went in literally, I'll tell you the conversation I had with her because it says a lot about my personality, but it'll get directly to the point. And so what I told her was, I said, you know, Mrs. Buyer's agent, I won't use her name. If you will just get out of the way and let me talk to the seller directly and let me negotiate this deal, it will be the fastest, easiest closing you've ever had in your life. And it will be very easy money for you. And she kind of looked at me like, okay, here's the seller's number, call him, you know. How many of us would say, yeah, we would have a response for that, right? So I did. I called and it was actually an agent. They had flipped the property. It was a rehab. Bought the home without an inspection. So, you know, some stuff even though you can be very well seasoned, but I would never do that probably today, knowing what I know now, right, on the real estate side. So that's what happened. And we bought this home. I closed literally in a week. Because back then you could do that. I had relationships with underwriters. We had already been underwritten on a different property, and it went like that. So literally we were better than a cash deal at that point. We needed an appraisal, and we could even pick our own at the time. And so, you know, I had a whole list of appraisers we would use. Plus it was worth it, or I wouldn't have made an offer on it. But so that's how it started. So my experience was so bad that I said, I got to help these people. Like I have people coming back to me from the mortgage side. I was referring them out, and they all just sucked, to be quite frank. And so we know we're not all the same, right? It's like with attorneys, there's amazing attorneys and there's attorneys not so much. And I think it's the same in real estate. So that's why I'm an agent today.
I just have to share, I'm sitting here laughing because in my 15 years in real estate, the only closing I ever had that nobody did an inspection on was my own house. I was the one ding dong that actually bought without one. So yeah, that's funny. Okay, sidebar. Oh wait, so you open up the book with this idea of why are you here? Like towards your clients and such. So talk about first impressions and where you start when you pick up a new client.
So I love that. And I actually just had a very similar conversation yesterday with Mickey. And I know everybody has their own process, right? And their scripts that we're taught in real estate. But if you were to shadow me and follow me, I think you'd find the conversations are a little bit different. Because of my season and time in the business and experience. But I always start with, why are you here? And I do that because think about it. When your clients want to buy a home or sell a home, they don't just wake up and go, oh, I think I'm going to sell my home today. Or, oh, I think I'm just going to go buy another house today. It sounds like a good idea. It does not happen like that. people make a big decision like real estate because something happened in their background, in their past, that planted a little seed that says, there's kind of a reason why I want to move, right? They don't like the area, the house is too small. You know, there's a million reasons why people move. It's our job as real estate professionals to uncover what those reasons are at a very deep level, because if we don't understand that, it's very hard for us to lead them and guide them and protect them through this whole process of buying or selling a home. And so, you know, you can't even recommend what area they would live in unless you know more about their lifestyle and why they want to move and, you know, what would be important to them. Then you could recommend an area that would be a good fit, you know. But if they've got 5 kids and schools are really important, they probably are looking for A-rated schools. So that's how you kind of narrow it down. But I start from there. Like, what's going on in your life right now that makes you want to buy a home or sell a home? You know, we start from that place. And, you know, and my questions can get really deep. I mean, I heard someone share the 7 levels deep. That's pretty accurate for me. We go pretty deep to the point to where when we're talking, we get that awkward silence. If you've ever had that with a customer.
Hey, Hudson, can I chime in just for a minute and
Yeah.
okay, and I know it's a little bit off script to an extent. For the benefit of the agents that are on here that really admire the growth you've had in your business, if you had to pick 1 or 2 things that gave you the most explosive growth over the last couple of years, because I mean, your growth over the last 24 months has been huge, what would you say those would be that you would recommend to these agents that are on here visiting with us?
To be very honest, and this is not a pitch for MAPS, but when I came to KW 4 or 5 years ago, however long ago it was, I had a bold coach that convinced me to hire a MAPS coach, so I did. And then I just have that bold personality where literally signed up, said, this is a 1-year commitment. You need to reconvince me why I want to renew with you after a year. And I had literally signed up, gave my notice, I'm canceling. Like literally, that's what I did. And so at the end of the year, I just didn't feel like anything was really different for me. Like my numbers were kind of the same. I wasn't even tracking them as good as I should have been doing, or as much as the coach should have been pushing me to do. So a little over a year ago, I hired my MAPS coach. And at the time when I did, I had an agent in Phoenix convince me that I should look at MAPS coaching. And I said, I didn't have a good experience, but okay, I'll look at it and consider it one more time. There's a lot of stuff changing, you know, and Monica Reynolds is there and I know her. And so she probably is making some great changes. So I basically did. And so I told MAPS, I said, look, I'll reconsider MAPS coaching on one consideration. I get to re-interview my coach. I want you guys to pick the 3 that you think are the best. I interview them and I pick the one that's the best match for me, because I have this other little piece, right, called radio. And I wanted some help with that part too. And I know it's not something that every coach is going to have in their background, but for me, it was an important little piece of where I was trying to go. And so to answer your question, Howard, that's what happened. So I had a MAPS coach, and what we did, and the most fundamental answer I can give you, but it's the truth, went back and followed the model. So if you're a seasoned agent like me and you've been doing it for a long time, this is going to be about unbreaking some bad habits, like, you know, and going back to the model. Like, and every time I try to go here, my MAPS coach is like, no, we're coming back here. This is what the model says.
So you're saying that between the model's implementation and then with the combination of coaching and accountability. And,
Yes.
and I'm so glad you're bringing it up, because we're going to have Michelle talk a little bit later about coaching on our call this today, because, you know, a MAPS coaching is one level. We have productivity coaching in the market center level. We've got a lot of different elements of coaching. But when you talk to any, at least for me, when I speak to any producer that's at your level or above, coaching's in their world. Hudson, that's what I see.
And I have multiple coaches, right? That's the truth. And to be honest with you, I'm a hard person to coach. I don't think I'm the easiest person to coach. I don't, on my KPA, MAPS coach is #1 at the top. And I don't know if I'd want to coach somebody like me. Mm-hmm. So hats off, you know, to my MAPS coach that said, yeah, I'm in for this challenge. I'm going to do it.
And then they're asking in the chat, sorry, Hudson, I'm like taking over here for a second. They're asking, like, when you say the models, are you referring to MREA models? Yes.
So going back, it's not just, and so I'll just be totally vulnerable for a minute. I had read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent more than once. When I came to KW, of course, my team leader said, read it again. I said, I already read it. He said, read it again. So I read it. And so now that I'm in the KW world, I'm like, well, I have so many questions. Like there's an economic model and there's like a budget, there's all this stuff. Like, are these different businesses? Are you doing them all at the same time? Like, the dots didn't quite connect for me.
Right.
It took me a little longer to figure all that out. So that's what I mean by there's a lot of depth in that book. It is
There is.
not a read once. It's like a lifetime reread.
No, it's a fluid process. It's
Yeah.
funny you bring it up too, because when I was coaching Jeff Gorham in the Clearwater office, and he'll tell you this today, he would fight me on those MRA models, and I kept pushing him back, pushing
Yeah.
him back, pushing him back, and you'll hit a ceiling without him. So I'm hoping a lot of you all on this call are hearing this, because it's not just a book; it's actually like a methodology to growth. It really is. So
And
sorry.
one more thing too, I mean, Keller Williams has been around for so long. I mean, that was part of the attraction, right? There's so many agents, and many of them I know that are just doing amazing things. And I'm like, how are they selling that many houses, right? So it's like, how do I get growth, because I'm not getting it where I came from. I came from 100% shop, right? I was at Ruttenberg before I came here. I was there for 14 years, so I don't hop around a lot. And to your point about the models, Howard, it's more important now than ever, right? Because you have companies like EXP. I mean, I probably get one of those calls a day, but they don't have the fundamental systems and everything there. And I think anybody that says it doesn't work, they're just not taking enough time to really dive in. Because you need to dive in, and it probably is going to take a coach really to do it. For me, it did. Maybe not for everyone, but for me, it absolutely.
I think at least some type of coaching on the implementation,
Yeah.
and we have a lot of training on it, and we need to take advantage of that. So Hudson, sorry.
And then some people might, like for me, my question is, well, great, this is all well and good, but how does it match with what I've already built? Right? I came into KW as a mega agent. Great. How does that look with my business? Like, how do I put those two together?
Well, and that's the thing, as far as like, your TL telling you read it again, read it again. The thing with that book is that when you read it the first time, you're where you are and you're going to get what you get out of it. When you read it again, a year later, 2 years later, your production is different, the business is different, the economics of the business is different. It's going to hit you different every time.
Yeah, you're looking for something different at that time.
Absolutely. So one of the things you talk about a lot in the book is the value of money. And I know like you're a Dave Ramsey person. So how does this value of money relate to real estate, and why is that so important?
So I share this story in the book as well. And there's a lot of vulnerability in there. I will tell you, like, when you read the book, do you feel like you know me better, Hudson, than you did before you read it?
Well, I do. And the thing is, like, and you do, and love you for it. Like, you do have a big, like, you are going to bust through the wall like the Kool-Aid guy. Like, you have a big personality, and you're also very giving. And yet reading the book, like I saw a very different side of you, and also reading about background and experiences. Yeah, I do.
So I talk a lot about my background and how I grew up with a single mom. You know, we were dirt poor. We really didn't have a lot of money. My grandparents helped a lot in the aspect growing up. And, there was many times growing up that the electric was going to be turned off, or there was no gas to take a hot shower and we had to take a cold shower, or we didn't really know, like we just ate whatever we could find in the house. There wasn't a parent present. But I still remember to this day, I was 12 years old when we lived in an apartment and my mother bought her first house. She didn't even have good enough credit to buy a house. Like, knowing what I know now, I can look back and realize what happened, but she had the seller that held a private note. And, as things recirculate in real estate, you'll see those things start to resurface, but that's what happened. They held a note. And, my mom bought her first house with that. And I share some of the stats in there, like how much it cost and like that time value of money and how that changes and why it's important. But the bigger lesson here, and going back to the money piece, is she still never learned with money. Like, no matter how much I've tried to help her, she's never going to change, because she's just very set in her ways and just still can't manage 5 cents. So I realized that I have to change everything, including the way I think about money. I have to not carry debt. I have to be completely different than the way I grew up. And so the one thing that I did that was a very simple idea, I kind of got this from The Richest Man in Babylon. It was one of the things, only with a little different spin, but it's so true. And I started at that time with 10% more. It's more like 15% now. But at the time I said, I'm going to take 10% of whatever I make. And the fact is, I don't care how tight your budget is, you won't miss it. If you move it and adjust some things, you will not miss it. But you take 10% of of any dollar that you make, put that in a completely separate bank account, out of sight, out of mind, and use that money only for wealth building. So you cannot use that money to go buy a boat or to buy a car or anything. You can use it for a down payment on a house. You can use that if you feel like a stock is going to take off. You can use it if you feel like you have a great investment opportunity. Like for me, I look for things like holding private notes. I would do that because I understand that and I like that. I would rather do that at a higher rate. So, you know, you can only use that money if it can make you money. And so I think if people just live within their means, which nobody does anymore, and basically, or Congress, right, being a prime example, but live within your means, have a budget, and save 15% of your income, not for retirement, but for wealth building. You should be doing retirement too. But if you save at least 15% for wealth building only, it will force you to get out of the boredom of the day-to-day grind and look for opportunities, because you can't spend that money until it can make you money.
Well, and I think that's huge. I think that is especially huge for people in this industry to learn, because we have this opportunity to make these big fat paychecks, and most realtors also have the tendency to spend every last dime of it the minute it shows up. And I was that way for years. And I will tell you, the biggest financial game changer for me was to do what you did and to start. And I started really small. I started with 10% because I was like, I can't afford more. And now I'm at a point where, like, every time, I don't care if it's a tiny one or a big one, when I get income that comes in, I will only keep 40% of it. Everything else goes into either a savings or an investment. Like, I have different buckets. And so, and it's so huge. It's a lesson that's so important to learn. So I love that you
One of my
share that.
big goals when I came over to KW was my profit share. I opened up a separate bank account for that, and I put all the money in that bank account. I've never spent one penny of it. My goal from day one when I came to KW was always to use that money for down payment on an investment property.
I love it. I love it.
We
That's
got to work on my
fantastic.
profit share, so I have enough. I'm almost there.
Well, we'll talk about that in a little bit here. You already said the coaching and the MREA, but I've got two last questions. One would be, what's one other piece of advice? Like, let's talk about an agent that's truly just starting out in the business. So they're not going to go out and hire a MAPS coach. And yes, they can go into productivity coaching. What's one other piece of advice that you would give them to be on track to build a business like you have?
So a couple things. I would say shadow somebody, right? Like shadow somebody that can give you some insight, that has really good habits. That would be an important part too. That can really kind of teach you the ropes and teach you some good fundamental habits. And the second thing would be to love on your people you already have. So just start there, right? Like literally start with the people in your phone. And so if I was brand new or dropped anywhere, or, you know, if I came from another industry, I would say, hey, Hudson, it's Katrina Madewell. I don't know if you saw my big announcement on Facebook, but I actually am in real estate now, like everybody else. But I didn't know if you saw that I'm in real estate now. And I wanted to make sure you knew about that.
That's awesome. How exciting for you.
Just get into dialogue about that and love on your people. Find out what they need. You could be the newest agent on the planet. If I talk to you and you say, oh, no, we're good. We don't want to, we just moved into our new house and our AC broke. And that's like our focus right now. Great. Let me get you a really great HVAC connection, right? So just love on your people. Can I keep you updated, Hudson, on what the value is of your house? I know you just bought it, but property values are rising so great. Wouldn't you love to see what your equity gap looks like and how big that is?
Yeah, it's, you take care of people, you help them get what you want. And as for the new agents out there, you remember that passion and confidence will trump experience every time.
Yes.
Absolutely every time. So thank you for that. So the last thing I want to make sure and ask, because we've got a number of people who have commented, where can people buy a copy of your book?
So I'm Amazon official now as of this week. So you can get it on Amazon. For me right now, that's the best place to buy it, because I really need the purchases linked with the reviews. So I have a very big goal of reaching 50 reviews. That's kind of like the milestone to get the book seen. It was a lot of work to get here. And so I'm asking you guys as fellow KW agents, if you could just spend $20, buy my book on Amazon, and then please read it and leave me a review. I would be forever in your debt. And it's really going to help make use of that time. I spent so much time and effort. Sunday's my only day off. I would spend my entire Sunday sometimes, you know, finishing up chapters in the book, to be on time within that 1 year goal I set for myself. So I think it's a good read, and I would just really appreciate your support. I'm sure everybody probably has an extra $20, and I can use the review. So thank you
What
for
we'd love to do maybe in the future here is maybe you could do a couple mini book clubs in the individual market centers on some of the chapters and things to get more specific will be great. And the other thing too is we also want to get some people that have really implemented MREA at a high level to do some book clubs with MREA in the market center. So Katrina, I think you'd be great for that if you would help us out with that in the future here.
Sure, I would love to.
That's
Thanks.
awesome.
That'd
And
be
I think did we have like 5 minutes to open it up for questions, Howard?
Yeah,
or
I
are
think we
moving
can do
on?
that. Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Real quick, if you don't have Amazon, you can get it at katrinamadewell.com. But I'm really looking for those reviews on Amazon right now. So if you have an Amazon account, they'll link it as a verified purchase, and I would appreciate that. And yes, there will be an audio book. I had some challenges with my voice last year, and I had to get past that. So I'm better now. The audio book's going to be delayed, but it will be out. Hopefully within about 3 months. That's kind of my goal.
So who else has a question for Katrina? She's an open book. I've met her.
True.
Well, that's so exciting. I'm glad. Oh, you can just unmute and ask a question, my friends.
I won't bite. I promise. I'm bold, but I don't bite.
What was the name of the book again?
It's Selling Through
Selling
Relationships.
through relationships.
Why
Thank
cold calling sucks and relationships win. And I did put it on the KWTP Facebook page, so maybe we could share that on all of them.
Yeah,
Hey,
there's
Katrina.
an Ubaldini group page that goes to all 3 offices.
Okay.
Yeah, Katrina, what was your biggest fear in writing the book?
Well, I think that's what helped me get through writing the book, because I'm a great agent, right? I can do this, but I was like, I'm not an author. So that limiting belief, right? And so I just kind of sat with, all right, well, what would the worst case scenario be? Okay, I write a book that bombs, everybody hates it, nobody likes it, and it just sucks, right? That's the worst case scenario. Like it never takes off. So I thought, okay, great. I think I can learn something from that. So let me just dive in, see what I can do. And if it's my worst book ever, I'm going to get feedback and I'll try again second time around. So that was my biggest fear initially, was I'm going to write this book and no one's going to like it because I'm not a writer. I'm a real estate agent. So I just kind of said, no, I'm not even going to say that. I'm going to give it my best. And then I'm going to see legitimately what people think. And if I get, some bad feedback or whatever, I'm going to take it with a grain of salt and just make the next one better.
Very good. Congratulations on it.
Thank you.
Katrina, you
Awesome.
mentioned that you do radio. Talk to us a little bit about that. How are you implementing that, and how did you get started with that?
Yeah, I think how I got started would probably be a suitable place to start. And so I started doing radio about 8 years ago. And so that was during the housing market crash. Everything was still crashing and burning. Nothing was going up at that time yet. And so everything literally that you read in the news was all about what was not happening. So all the foreclosures that were going on, people that were getting laid off. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we do. Cameras,
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, people that weren't making their mortgage payments, that's all that was in the news. And so I got approached by a company that was in San Diego that's no longer around. They were looking to launch networks all over the country to bring a little bit more of a positive spin on radio. And it's funny because I knew the guy that was the CEO, but when they invited me, and they did their homework to invite like the top people to make sure they had the infrastructure to do it, because when you start radio, it's paid airtime. Like there's no free airtime. And so it costs money, and then you have to have sponsors to support that. And you're writing a check in the beginning until you get the sponsors to pay for the airtime. And so it was not cheap. It was very expensive. And I had originally said, no, I'm not gonna do a radio show. I'm a real estate agent in this market, especially. I don't want to get distracted by something else that looks like another shiny object. I'm just going to really try to stay focused. And I'll never forget what Ron told me. He goes, no, Katrina, I think you're looking at this all wrong. So he goes, you've heard of things like BNI, right? And other networking platforms. I said, well, sure. He said, radio is like BNI on steroids. The connections that you will make and the people that you will meet doing radio will change your world. And I would say that's accurate. That's very accurate. It was hard in the beginning, and definitely, to stroke that check to pay for that airtime was not cheap in the beginning. And so my goal was to, get sponsors as fast as possible to offset that cost, because I was doing enough business. I thought I should definitely have sponsors. That's the interesting thing too. Some of my relationships changed, and I talk about that in the book. My relationships changed. People I had supported for years and always given business. When I asked for a little bit back to support this cost, they were like, oh, sorry, yeah, we don't have the money. And so I realized, probably in business with the wrong people, right? So this is about supporting our growth together, because I've been supporting you. And so frankly, I found new relationships, and it's interesting because my first 3 sponsors, 2 of the people that, dropped and said, no, I'm not going to do it, actually ended up working for the companies that still sponsor me today.
That's awesome. One of the agents is asking, and I know you can't give exact numbers, but is there a range of like what that airtime costs? So they have an idea?
It really depends on the station. I mean, you can get a smaller station with a smaller watt station that doesn't have a very big reach, and that airtime's super affordable. And then you can do a lot of things like turn that to a podcast and use that for marketing. So you can do a lot with that still. And if you guys, want some of those connections to start out, let me know, and I'll be happy to give it to you.
That'll be great. Yeah, just
Yeah,
because
but
I know you can't go into specifics.
I don't even remember, to be honest with you, but
No, I get that.
start somewhere. Like, even if you start with a podcast, that's a great place to start. A lot of
That's
people
what I say. A lot more people are doing podcasts now, and it's accessible, and it's something that they could do.
Yeah, so
we
all of our shows air live. We do live radio. I have a studio built in my office, and then once it airs live, it actually goes to the podcast. So if you want to hear what the format is like or what some of our shows are, just search for Tampa Home Talk, and they're all there.
Tampa Home Talk, correct?
Like,
got it.
talk
Okay.
radio.
And then Garrett, we've got time for one more question here. Garrett Grimes in our Bel Air Market Center. Do you have an idea what your next book will be about?
It's funny how this question just comes up, right? Once you're an author, because I think initially thinking you're like, I'm going to write one book, good, I'm done, right? But the truth is, once you do it, it's kind of like, well, maybe I should write another one. And so I think for me, my next book is going to be more about like financial literacy, because I think there's so much that needs to change in our country with how people think about money. And just the financial literacy, you really have to change people's mind to more of a hand up and not a hand out. And until that changes, our world's really not going to change. So for me, I think it's going to be something around financial literacy, probably with a component to it of wealth building through real estate.
Awesome. Wonderful. Katrina, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. And I'm assuming that they can reach out to you with specific questions if they can. What's the best email for you?
KM for Katrina Madewell at tampahometalk.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And Hudson, thank you for interviewing her. It was great. Thank you.
And I didn't bore you guys, right? We're good.
Yeah, we're awesome. This is
they
perfect.
say hosts make better guests. So.
No, you were wonderful. You were perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much. So we're going to move forward. We got a little bit of time here left. I know that Michelle Marino, who is our head of our productivity coaching program for our offices, is going to give you a little bit of an update on what we've got going on with productivity coaching. So Michelle, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hi, everybody. So I just wanted to kind of announce that the launch productivity coaching that we do, which is kind of like transaction coaching, has changed a little bit from last year to this year. And because there are so many agents that help us bring agents to the company, I just wanted you all to know what the changes have been so that when you're talking to other agents, you know what we're offering here. So we have what we're calling transactional launch coaching. And that is for new agents that come to our company. They are auto-enrolled into this program for the first 3 transactions. Okay, the cost for that program to the agent is 20% to the productivity coaching program. The difference between last year and this year is now the agents are getting assigned 1 coach. So we currently have 3 coaches that work all 3 market centers. And so once they onboard, I call them, I interview them, and then I assign them to a coach. And then they have that one person that's their person to ask all the questions to and to have their group coaching sessions with And those coaches will get them through their first 3 transactions. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Now, who's new? Well, anybody who just got their license or anybody new to Keller Williams that has less than 5 transactions. Okay, so if they're from another company and they've had less than 5 transactions, that's considered new for us, and they're going to be auto-enrolled in our productivity coaching program. So that's one exciting thing. The next thing I wanted to say is that we also have a coaching program for agents that are through their first 3 transactions or that come to us with more than 5 that maybe they just want that accountability person. So maybe they're not ready for the MAPS coaching, but they definitely want accountability. We have that coaching program for them too. And that cost to the agent is only 10% of the gross GCI. So I just wanted to let everybody know that we're calling that growth coaching. That coaching is not transactional, meaning the coaches are not going to be there to help them put things, through transaction protection. They'll give them advice. But at that level of coaching, they're expecting that the agent has been through transactional coaching. They know how to do their transactions, or they've set it to a transaction coordinator. And the coach for growth is strictly accountability. And those will be twice a month, 30-minute meetings, and accountability as the agent needs it. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. Any agent can join the growth coaching program. All they have to do is contact me. I will match them with a coach. And if they're agents currently in the market center, it's just you should have gone through your 3 transactions first. And then we can put you into that program. That one.
And so that's open to anyone, right? That's open to anybody.
Yes,
Perfect.
absolutely. That one's
And
open.
so what you all should know is going back to the new agent coaching program. I'm sure you all know this: 80 to 85% of agents that enter in the business are out of it within 2 years because of a lack of coaching, or lack of education, and lack of mentorship. We have a much better statistic with that, and it's because of this coaching program. It's much better. It's almost flipped the other direction. So that's awesome.
Right. I also wanted to mention, Howard, that we now have 2 Spanish-speaking coaches. So if there are agents out there who are looking for the Spanish-speaking coaches, I do have that for them. And if there's anyone out there who would like to help us in coaching the growth and up, we're looking for those agents as well, because the mics are a little bit tapped out with the launch program. And so we are looking for coaches who want to take on additional clients for coaching, and I can train you up on that and get you started on that. So just contact me, michelle.marino@kw.com. I'll type it in the chat if you're interested in coaching, or if you have any questions about the program.
Perfect. They can contact you directly. Wonderful. Thank you, Michelle. So next month, February, we will not have a town hall because guess what? It's family reunion. And I know family reunion's a little bit different this year because it's not live. However, it's a lot less money because of that. And talk about, I don't know, those of you that were involved in MegaCamp online, it was a great experience. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. It's not the same as flying out to Las Vegas and being with 17,000 agents live and the energy of that. I get that, but we're doing what we can do during this pandemic to make this work. But from the same token, there's a lot of you that may not have wanted to spend thousands of dollars to get on a plane, fly out to Las Vegas, and attend the event live. So you're going to get to hear think about it. The advantage and the value of Family Reunion is hearing from those people that are doing great things in the industry, and them sharing their tidbits and methodologies and what they're doing to implement things. And you're going to get that advantage without having to even leave your house. So we're going to recommend that to you heavily. I know the market centers will be doing some individual things as far as presentations in the training rooms around it and some different things. So check with your team leaders on that. But again, because of Family Reunion, we will not be doing a town hall next month. Our next one will be in March. Our special guest on that will be Dana Gentry. Dana Gentry is from our Ohio Valley region. Dana was an agent, then a team leader, then a general manager. Now she owns multiple market centers as the area director for the Ohio Valley region. She's going to share with you her path through the opportunity map, and more importantly, through what she's done to build income, and through passive and active income streams, multiple. So it's not just one or two. I think last check she said she had 11 income streams. And I'm like, okay, I need you to talk to our people. So that's going to be, Tamara, that's March 18th, correct? That's on here for March 18th. And we'll get that information out to you, obviously, well in advance for that. So thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you being with us today. I hope you got value. Thanks again, Katrina, for sharing with us. It was wonderful, wonderful treat. Thank you, Hudson. And thank you, Michelle Marino. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And we love you, respect you, and thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks, Howard.
Bye.
Great meeting.
Bye.